Hi guys, my name's Zoe, aka Zobo with a shotgun, and today I want to talk to you about 5 of the scariest scenes from horror movies ever. So the first film on the list, in at number 5, is Paranormal Activity from 2007. Directed by Oren Peli, Paranormal Activity follows Katie and Mika, who are a newlywed couple. They move into a new house, and unfortunately that house has a presence which is perhaps not quite as delightful as they would hope. They soon find out that there is a demonic presence living within their house. So what do they decide to do? Mika decides that he's going to film everything, whilst Katie is the one that is affected most badly by what's going on. There's a lot of scary scenes that happen throughout this movie, and I think it gets a bad rep, which is probably because it was perhaps a little bit forward for its time, but personally I found it to be one of the scariest films that has ever been made. There's no denying that Paranormal Activity is full of jump scares, but those jump scares are absolutely terrifying. The one in question for me is the scene where Katie and Mika lie in bed very peacefully, sleeping through the night, as we watch through the handheld camera that they've set up to record everything. Then we see the cover slowly moving off Katie's foot, and then all of a sudden she is yanked out the bed by her foot by some unseen phenomenon, and she's dragged down the hall. That scene is absolutely petrifying, and I remember watching it and just feeling sheer terror. I did not sleep well at all that evening. All I could think about was something coming and taking my feet out of the bed. And the problem is I love sleeping with my feet off the bed, so that really destroyed my sleeping for quite some time. But honestly, I think that jump scare and just seeing the reality of what would happen if there was a demon dragging you out of bed whilst you're completely asleep is absolutely terrifying. In at number 4, this one's a little bit of a more indie film, but hopefully you might have heard of it. It is none other than The Borderlands from 2015, also known as Final Prayer. So this film comes from Elliot Gardner, and we follow Deacon and Gray, who are Vatican investigators, and they're sent to a small church in rural England to uncover the truth behind some supernatural happenings that have been going on. Both Deacon and Gray they're not particularly superstitious themselves, and they're very skeptical about the situation. They believe that there's typically a very normal explanation for things of paranormal happenings, and therefore they go to investigate. But what they find out is that perhaps being skeptical is not the right approach this time around. So there's a particular scene in that movie which is at the end. So warning, this is a spoiler. So if you want to watch the movie, go and watch it before. So what happens at the end is in order to uncover some of the continuation of the truth, they must crawl. I believe they are crawling underneath I think it's called the pews, and they're crawling lower and lower, and there's all of these horrible noises and all of these things happening, and it is a found footage film, so it makes it feel like you're there in this tunnel with them, and it's an exceptionally claustrophobic moment. And it's when they've started to begin to realise that it's nothing going on, that something genuinely is going on within this church. So you're already feeling the fear and the tenseness that they're feeling as well, and they're trapped in this tunnel with absolutely no way out, and it kind of just presents to us like this complete sense of hopelessness. And yeah, I found it absolutely terrifying. I think the entirety of the film is actually really frightening, and it takes a lot for me to be frightened, but I would say the Borderlands is most definitely a very, very frightening movie. In at number 3, we have a slightly older movie this time. That can be Ju-on from 2002. Also known as The Grudge. So this is a film by Takeshi Shimizu, and it's quite a simple premise. We are in a haunted house, and the house is haunted because a mother and her young son were murdered in the house. A family are currently living in the house, and there's a lot of just sheer horrible things happening in the house. I think anyone that's seen Ju-on, and I'm talking about the original Japanese movie, not the American remake, just to let you know, anyone that's seen Ju-on will know just how terrifying the overall movie is. Again, I believe it's one of the most frightening films out there, but there's one scene in there that it left me sleepless. For 3 weeks, I had to share a bed with my mother, and that says a lot, that I literally couldn't sleep in my own bed because of this scene. We follow one of the characters, and they're going into the attic, and they just pop their head up, and they go to turn around, and there behind them is this horrific ghost that just pops up and is just there staring, and oh my god, the chills that I got. I was absolutely fucking petrified by that scene, and I don't think I've been near or in an attic since I've seen that, and I saw that movie probably a good 10 years ago, so hands down that scene has fucked up me ever owning a place with an attic, and unfortunately at the moment I do not have an attic in my place, so I'm completely safe. I also don't have any stairs. This is a film that will make you terrified of random places around your house, like the attic, the stairs, even the living room. It's just out and out sheer terror the whole way through, so good luck with that one. In at number 2 is a film from 1990, and that is none other than The Exorcist 3. So this film is by William Peter Blatty. It follows Lieutenant Kinderman I believe he's from the first film, and 17 years later since the original Exorcist, and he's investigating a series of murders that have similar aspects to them. So he's trying to look for the killer. He ends up investigating a lot within a mental institution. So he's within the mental institution, and he finds Father Damien Karras there, who I'm not entirely sure, it's been a long time since I've seen this movie, but I believe he's not quite sure whether he's real, whether he's a figment of his imagination, etc, etc. The scene in this, and you know that it's a terrifying scene, when Fright Rags put this scene on a t-shirt, which I bought for my dad actually, because he is the reason that I first ever saw this scene, because he wanted to make me scared basically. So he showed me this scene, and it's a very simple scene. We have a long shot of a corridor, and we're seeing some of the staff in the mental institution go around their business, and in particular we're looking at a nurse. I believe she's got a little red cardigan on, a little white hat, she's going about her duties, and she exits a door and she starts to walk this way down the corridor, and very quickly, and it lasts for about 2 seconds. It's so quick, if you blink you would miss it. A white figure with a pair of huge shears comes walking, and I'm talking power walking, behind her, and you kind of just see them come onto the screen and go off screen, and that's all you see. But I think it is genuinely one of the most terrifying scenes to ever exist in film, and I think actually a lot of people would agree with that. Everyone that I've ever said that nurse scene in Exorcist 3, they've also completely agreed that absolutely fucked them up. If you're looking for a scare, just, you can even watch that scene on YouTube and it's still terrifying. You don't even need to see the whole film. It will give you nightmares and you will never want to step foot in a hospital ever again. So, number one, what could potentially be one of the scariest scenes that's ever been in a horror movie, you ask? Good question. That is none other than Jaws from 1975. So Jaws is by Steven Spielberg, and it opens with a horrific shark attack on a beach. You know, it's like the summer holidays, everyone's having a whale of a time, excuse my pun, and a shark comes and attacks, and it's horrific. And Police Chief Brody, he wants to close the beaches because of this shark attack, but of course the mayor says no, we need tourism and we need money. So what does he decide to do? He decides to round a little gang up, take the boat out and catch this motherfucking shark. And of course Jaws, he is not a small shark, he's not a tiny baby shark, he is a great white shark, the worst of them all. I am absolutely petrified of sharks as it is, and I think maybe I have Jaws to blame for that. And yeah, they go out and they look to catch and kill the shark. I would say that Jaws has a lot of terrifying moments. As someone that typically doesn't like sharks, I find it absolutely horrifically frightening. I think maybe if you like sharks, it wouldn't be as scary, but for me, I have a big fear of the sea and of underwater, and I absolutely hate when they're filming and the camera's bobbing up and down the water. That for me is like dread and panic and everything I hate in a movie. It honestly, it gives me heart palpitations, it makes me anxious, it's just unbelievably scary. But it's not that that's the scariest in Jaws. The scariest scene in Jaws is the first time we see Jaws in all of his glory and his action, and he bursts out of the sea with his mouth wide open onto the boat like he doesn't scream, and fuck me, that scene, I will never ever forget that scene. That scene made me quit swimming lessons. I couldn't go on my back. All I could see was his goddamn mouth open, like all the time. It's given me a sheer phobia of the sea. Like, I hate going in boats. I hate going anywhere into the sea because all I can think about is his big ass mouth coming towards me. And I remember I went to Universal Studios and they have a Jaws ride there, and of course they have that exact scene reenacted, and I must have been about 16 when I was there, and I went on the ride with my dad, and I remember the scream I made, and I know it's just animatronics, it's not even a real shark, but my god, I thought I was going to vomit. It was, I've never felt fear like that in my life, and I really hope I don't again. Then another amazing time was when I showed Jaws for the first time to my little brother. I was so hoping that that scene would scare the shit out of him, and it did, but it also scared the shit out of me as well. So yeah, I think it has to be that scene from Jaws. That is one of my top scariest scenes ever in a horror movie. I'd love to hear what scary scenes that in horror movies that you love. Well, love is maybe not the right word, but what are some of the scariest horror scenes in movies that you've ever seen? Do let me know. You can find me on Twitter at Zobo with Shotgun, or leave a comment down below and let me know which scenes scared the living shit out of you. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like and share and do whatever you want.